I'm Henry, a 29-year-old businessman. Today I'm going to tell you about two people who betrayed me. The first person is my wife, Jessica. We had the same hobbies and interests. We hit it off as soon as we met. We dated for a few years and then got married. We had a daughter right away and it was smooth sailing. The second person was Peter, a friend of mine from high school. Peter and I were always together in high school. We were very close, but we drifted apart a bit after when we went to different universities. 2 years after starting work, Peter contacted me and we went out for a drink. After that, we started seeing each other more often. Sometimes we even had drinks together, including my wife, who was still just my fiancée. I also invited Peter to our house where I lived together with my wife, and we would have dinner together. That's how close we were. But these two betrayed me. I realized this when my daughter turned 1 year old. It was around the time things started to settle down with the new baby. I wanted to have a second child. Jessica was not keen on it. My work was very exhausting. It was very difficult to take time off to help with the daughter. I had to leave taking care of our daughter and most of the housework to my wife. She said, "I'm too busy. There's no way we could have a second baby now." So I didn't say anything. But my wife's parents' house was nearby, so I asked them to help Jessica with the housework and childcare. And there were times when she said, "Thanks to you, I can relax." I kept thinking, why did she refuse? And then gradually, Jessica's attitude became more and more strange. She was always a neat freak, even after our daughter was born. But when I came home, I often found the house as a mess. Like the morning dishes were left dirty in the sink, it soon became a daily occurrence. It's not like I helped out with the housework, so there wasn't much I could say. But it'd finally gotten too much to handle, so I told Jessica. "This is not safe for our daughter. When I get home from work, I'll help out as much as I can. Can you try to keep up with things like you did before?" I said. Jessica heard that and flipped out. "Don't complain to me when you don't do anything. I'm tired of raising a child every day. I can't do it," she said. I know raising a child is difficult. I think my daughter is actually well behaved, but there's still so many things you have to do for a child. Because of that, I always made sure to take care of our daughter on my days off. "You don't do anything." I was a little shocked by her words, but then I thought that Jessica must be having a hard time, so I started to clean up after coming home at night on weekdays. But I started to notice other strange things. For example, she didn't want to go out anymore. I was sure that Jessica liked to go out. But when I asked if she wanted to go with my daughter and I to the park, she refused, saying she was tired and it would be too much trouble. I didn't let it bother me. One day, when I got off work early, I decided to ask her out to dinner. I asked my mother-in-law to take care of my daughter, so that it could just be the two of us. So I called her on her lunch break, but she didn't answer. When I got home, I asked her why she didn't answer the phone. She said she had gone shopping, but dinner that night was leftovers from the night before. Come to think of it, more and more prepared foods from the supermarket were on the table for dinner. And when I came home from work, I found my daughter crying alone, while Jessica was playing on her cell phone. I knew something was wrong. It seemed like such strange behavior from her, so I decided to investigate. I asked my best friend Derek to help me. I got in touch with him and we decided to meet at a bar after work. After quickly catching up, we got down to business. Derek listened to what I had to say and said, "Sure," without hesitation. "My schedule's pretty flexible, plus it's you asking me. Of course I'll look into it for you." Derek agreed to follow my wife. He told me to call him if my wife seemed suspicious. We parted ways for the day. Of course, I bought the drinks that day. 1 month later, nothing had changed, not even her attitude. I was a little disappointed, but I spent my days trying to keep my attitude the same. Suddenly, Derek contacted me. He asked if there was a day we could meet. I immediately responded. We agreed to meet the next day. When I got to the same bar from the other night, Derek was already there. There was an envelope on the table. I sat down. "I'm sorry, man, to ask you to do this," I said. Derek said, "No, it's okay. After this, you're gonna have more trouble than me." He shook his head. It was gonna get troublesome after this? No way. We made a toast. After a few drinks, I heard his report. In a word, my wife was a cheater. A picture of the two of them having dinner at a restaurant. Peter was in the picture with Jessica. There were other pictures of them walking arm in arm and going into a hotel. Some of them they were dressed differently, so I knew it was more than one time. The most shocking thing was the video. It showed Jessica pulling our crying daughter along and leaving her with her mother. While our daughter cried, refusing to go, Jessica was smiling. And then she rushed out of the house. There are many videos like that. How can she smile when our daughter is crying so much? It was unbelievable, and it made my hands shake with anger. Then Derek said to me, "The other guy looks familiar to me." I nodded in agreement. Derek had been a friend of mine since college. Once he had invited me out for drinks just as I was going out with Peter, so the three of us had drinks together. When I said that, Derek said, "Really? That's him?" he muttered, and downed the rest of the beer in one gulp. My wife cheated on me, and it was with my friend. I had suspected it with Jessica's behavior, but I never imagined she was cheating with Peter. After the shock had passed, I just got angrier and angrier. Derek said, "Let me know if there's anything I can do to help," as he left to go home. I was so relieved to see him leave. From there, I moved quickly. First, I went to the lawyer's office with the evidence. The lawyer said, "The divorce and alimony claim were not a problem, but custody of my daughter was going to be difficult. Because the daughter was so young, the custody was in favor of the mother, unless there is some case of abandonment. I was not able to win custody." I showed her the video of her leaving our daughter with my mother-in-law, but that doesn't seem to be enough to call it abandonment. In that case, I'll have to talk to her directly and ask her to relinquish custody. So I came up with a plan. In preparation for executing the plan, first of all, I contacted her lover, Peter. I asked him, "It's been a while, want to go out for some drinks?" Peter had 2 replies. At a different table from last time, we had a drink together and talked about trivial things. Peter didn't seem to realize that I had found out, and we were talking happily as usual. I suppressed my inner anger and said as if I had just occurred to me, "This takes me back. That's right, you haven't been to my house in a while. Why don't you come over? You haven't met my daughter, have you?" After hearing those words, Peter said, "That sounds great, but I've been busy lately," he sighed. As I expected, he was not enthusiastic in reply. But I continued. I went out of my way to make sure Peter couldn't say no to coming over. I had no intention of backing down. "I see. When is a good time for you then? I'm available anytime," not giving him space to run away. He realized there was no way to run away, so he ended up coming over 2 weeks later. I didn't tell my wife that it was going to be Peter coming over. I told her that a colleague from work was coming. When the day came, Peter brought a souvenir. I welcomed him and said, "It's been so long," as I let him into the house. I had lived in this house since before we were married, but Peter hadn't been here in a few years. When I brought Peter into the house, Jessica was surprised and shouted, "Oh my God, you're not Henry's colleague, you're Peter! Long time no see!" Peter would have told her beforehand anyway. It's so obvious. Her voice was so hollow, it was obvious that she was acting. I sat down on the living room couch, trying not to laugh. I told the two, who continued to act like they hadn't seen each other in so long, to sit down too. Jessica went into the kitchen to make tea. When Peter came to sit down, I opened my mouth. "Man, it's kind of dark in here. The light on the TV stands aren't on." Then Peter turned on the light switch nearby, his movement as if he had done it 1,000,000 times. Jessica turned pale when she saw it. I said, "Wow, you knew exactly where the switch was." Peter seemed to have noticed his mistake. He laughed and said, "No, it's been a while, but my body remembers." I quickly retorted, "No, but I bought this TV stand 6 months ago." Hearing those words, Peter was obviously thrown off guard. He tried to change the subject. "Is your daughter taking a nap? And I'm looking forward to dinner." But I have no interest in letting him see his daughter. I also wasn't planning to continue this through dinner. My wife started preparing dinner in response to Peter's words. I controlled myself and silently stared at them. Peter was the first one to lose his patience under the silent pressure. "I'm sorry." He immediately got down on his knees. He remained in that position. "I did something horrible, I'm sorry. I won't see her first again after this, I promise," he said to me. My wife saw this and cried. "No, it was just a fleeting thing. Please forgive me, I love you," she said. I spat coldly at her. "Our daughter was crying just as you are right now. Watching her scream and cry, you left her. That's not something a mother does." Jessica gasped when I said that. She looked as if she wanted to ask me, "How much do you know?" So I told her, "I know everything, but I want to hear the explanation from your mouth." They nodded their heads as if they were about to give up and started talking. What they told me was shocking. Apparently their relationship had been going on since before we were married. They exchanged contact information when they met. They started seeing each other behind my back. The thrill of the possibility of being discovered became a thrill for them, and the relationship deepened, they said. When I heard this story, "No way, our daughter's father was..." But they denied it desperately. They insisted that they had stopped seeing each other for a while after we got married, and my wife said she could do a DNA test, so I decided to believe her. Well, actually, I love my daughter, even if we're not blood related, and officially she's my biological child, so I decided not to worry about it. Jessica couldn't stop crying. Peter was on his knees. There's no way the talk could continue. Due to the noise, my daughter woke up, so I kicked the both of them out of the house. After that, a formal meeting was held with a lawyer. Jessica's parents were furious. According to my mother-in-law, my wife had lied about starting a part-time job and left their daughter with them. My father-in-law slapped my wife. She said she was sorry and cried. But when the lawyer explained the terms of the divorce, she changed her attitude when she heard that she had to give me custody of the daughter. She started ranting that she would never give me custody. I thought it was selfish of her after being the one to have an affair. "If you double the alimony, then I will let you have custody." When I said that, she backed down easily. Because Jessica was a housewife and we only been married for a short time, she didn't have much in the way of property to share, and after using her savings, the alimony was set at a low amount considering the market rate. However, child support is my daughter's right, so I did not compromise on that. $500 a month until she turned 22 years old. However, we agreed we would give her a deferment until she got a job. So we settled on the arrangements and made a written oath that she would not approach my daughter without my permission, and divorce papers were also filed. My parents-in-laws told Jessica, "I will not help you at all. You must work hard to pay for your daughter's sake," putting a nail in the coffin. Then I started a new life with my daughter. I moved out of my old house and rented a room near my office. My job was still the same, but I moved to be closer to my parents' house. My mother comes to my house every day. She picks up my daughter from preschool and takes care of her until I get home. I really appreciate it. My daughter cried a lot at first because she misses her mommy, but since my mother started coming, she started to laugh a lot. I talked to my boss about how I wanted to put my daughter first from now on. I was able to transfer to a department with less overtime. Thanks to this, I have more time to spare. So now I'm learning how to cook from my mother. Someday I want my daughter to eat my food. By the way, from Peter I got a lump sum of alimony that was higher than the market rate. Apparently he had a fiancée. They broke off the engagement and are demanding alimony, and his company found out about it from somewhere. I heard he resigned from his job. I heard that he's working part-time now. I wonder where they heard about it. I have no idea. After it was all over, I invited Derek out for a drink and told him the news. Well, that's good. You look refreshed. I'm relieved, he laughed. When I thought about how much I worried and doubted everything, I really do feel relieved. Now the question was, when my daughter grows up, how will I talk to her about everything? When I said this, Derek laughed again. No, you've got plenty of time. You can think about it when the time comes. I laughed too, thinking that was true. My wife and my friends betrayed me and I lost them both. But I have my daughter, my mother, and my best friend. I'm going to be okay. Thank you for watching. We hope you enjoyed it. We hope to see you again soon. Please subscribe to our channel.